It is Friday, December 27th, 2019. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a very educational, get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday. Did a lot of interesting angles on the old Kimura. Yes, the Kimura. We did a lot of basic stuff today, but we did this really interesting kind of crucifixy kind of thing with the Kimura, and I found at least one or two little setup things that I really liked, and one of them was the setup for getting the arm out so that you can get your leg over it and start doing that windshield wiper motion over the top of the leg there and keeping it trapped. And that is if you're on top of your opponent, say in side control, and got like say your right arm under them and then hooked over the top of their left shoulder, and you got their arms kind of pinned between you and them. Rather than letting them frame you out, you take your left hand, and you put it like say on your right shoulder, and then you start pushing it across their chest until you gather their hand right under the back of their hand, so it's like right at their wrist level, and then you just push that bad boy out, and then you open up just enough space where you can sneak that knee up over it. And I like that. I liked that a lot. And I even had an opportunity to try it once in the during sparring, and I did get my opponent to that position, but I couldn't close out the damn Kimura. And I tried a couple ways to do it, but he was quite a bit larger than I was, and he's a blue belt, so he's not some little punk white belt. This is nothing against white belts, because we've always been one. I mean, we've all been one, But anyway, so yeah, he's very, very skilled, and he's a little bit heavier than me too, and so like when he would throw his weight, I would definitely feel it. Probably not as much as some of the smaller people in the class, but definitely felt it. And honestly, I'm glad that he felt free to be that free with me, And I think that's probably one of the bigger troubles for us big guys, is that unless the person that you're with can actually handle it, when we're putting a little bit of extra pressure on you or something like that, it can feel really, really oppressive, and like we're doing it intentionally or like vindictively or personally, and that's just not the case. What it is we're big fucking people. That's all there is to it, man. Sorry, I got 60 pounds on you. It's going to feel a little bit more oppressive. It's going to feel a little bit harsher than if I was, 150, 160 pounds. And so, it's because of that guys of my shape or guys of his shape have to really tone it down. I'm not as tall as he is, but I'm pretty strong. And so, when he was feeling my strength a little bit, he's like, okay, I can pop the notch up just a notch. I can turn that dial up a little bit and have a little bit of fun here. And so that's exactly what happened. But what was really happening for me anyway was that I was primarily defensive, and that I was in a few situations where, he had me pretty screwed, and the only thing that really saved me was the fact that I tired him out trying to get me there. It's like I make him work really hard to get my back, and then right when he's getting ready to sink it in, I slip out of it. And I did that to him like several times, and this was a 10-minute round. I made it 7 minutes, and I was feeling some gastrointestinal discomfort, and so I said, we're going to have to stop or I'm going to shit myself. So, hey man, I had to thank goodness that I do have some like retention capability back there, because a few times like he leaned over on me and it was like, oh my god, she's about to pop this zit, man. But I managed to keep my composure, and get some frames in, and kind of protect my midsection just enough to keep from ejecting. And so like I said, 7 minutes in, and we were both pretty tuckered out by then. However, he did continue on. He got another partner off of the side, and he was able to finish out the round with them. So that was cool. I'm only mildly disappointed in myself because he's the biggest guy in the class. And I lasted 7 minutes against him. Second class back after like 4 days off. I'll take it. I'll take it. Because I felt like I did challenge him just a little bit. I didn't feel like it was a completely easy move for him. Although he did tap me. I'm not gonna lie. He did tap me once. But it wasn't easy. And that's really about all I hope for at this point, is just making it not easy. If I can make it more challenging than they're able to get away with, I'll take it. I'll take it. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down with some music. I got to get me a shower so I can get some of this Matt funk off of me. But we're going to throw down with a little bit of body count to begin with. No Lives Matter, First Dance, here on Coin Metal. And that was Prong with Proud Division. Yeah, and so, today I actually did take the time to rummage around and find some subject matter to talk about today. I know, I actually did some forethought, and that's such a shocker for me on this show, I'm sure. At least for those of you who have been listening for a while. Anywho, I'm kind of doing a few things that I had to take care of, but for whatever reason never got around to. Of course, because I was in the shower. But like I said, I do have actual subject matter to cover today, so I'm not as pressured to dig around and find it, because I know exactly where it is. Alright. Yeah, it seems like there was a bit of an issue here on YouTube with a whole bunch of crypto influencers being deplatformed. Now, this isn't any surprise to me, because I've already been deplatformed from Twitter, and I've been using Twitter for this show since 2015. So, the idea that it was like some sort of abuse or whatever, I endured far more discrimination, abuse, fucking targeted harassment than anybody else that I've seen in crypto. And I make that claim knowing full well that if anybody were to examine Twitter's logs and their files and whatnot, they would see that I am probably the most blocked person in crypto Twitter. Period. Bar none. There's nobody else that's blocked as much as I am. Or if they are, they're so fucking blocked, not even I know about them. Okay, but this gives you an idea of what's going on, though. This didn't even start with fucking Twitter. It started on Reddit, where people were being deplatformed, people were being removed, and again, only over philosophical or just a difference of opinion. Not even because they were being vindictive or they were being an asshole or they were spamming or polluting or anything like that. It was just a matter of, I don't like what you're saying, so I am going to take away your ability to say it. And this is nothing new in crypto. And I'm honestly surprised that anybody is surprised about it. But like I said, I only know it because it's been happening to me pretty much continuously since about 2014, 2015, when this whole block debate started up. I can remember it plain as day, because the very first person that I know for certain, or that I can remember, blocking me on Twitter was none other than Andreas M. Antonopoulos. And it was over SegWit. He was saying something about, we need this, blah, 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 block size increase, blah, blah. And by then, it wasn't even really known, how big the the quote-unquote block size increase would actually be is like, I think at max it's like 0.8 megabytes or some shit like that. That's not even the same number of transactions as we were doing back then. I mean, we were doing thousands of transactions per block instead of hundreds. And yeah, anyway, so he was saying something about SegWit or whatever, and I basically said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And he said, you, sir, are a radical, and blocked me on Twitter. I'm like, what? What the fuck is that? You know, I mean, it's a difference of opinion. Why would you block somebody over a simple difference of opinion? And you know what? I wasn't even all that big at the time. Wasn't as big as I am now. Like, I've got millions of listeners, which I don't. But point being that, you know, I'm just this little bitty guy on Twitter saying, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. And Andreas M. Antonopoulos, Mr. fucking, what was it, Internet of Money book, blocks me on Twitter because he's that threatened by what I'm saying. Can you fucking believe that? But that was the first example. And I mean, all of them have blocked me since. Well, a lot of them. There's quite a few people out there. I had over 3,000 followers, and I think I was following like 400, maybe 500 people. So, you know, I had some hardcore OGs that were following me and whatnot, and they're pretty cool about it. But, you know, like I said, I've always been offended by the idea that somebody is involved in this space who cannot tolerate criticism, who cannot tolerate a simple question. This is an immediate clue to you, and I don't even care if we're talking about crypto, that who you are talking to is trying to deceive you. If they're trying to just shut you down for a simple question, not even being really critical, not even damaging, just a question. This is a person who does not want you to question them, period. And that's usually a pretty damn good sign that they're trying to rip you off. Because they just cannot endure answering any questions. Because if they answer a question, they're invariably going to give away something of their fraud that they intend to perpetrate upon you. And if you know about it, well, fuck, you might prepare yourself for it. You might actually do something to inhibit their ability to steal your fucking money. But, you know, every ambush predator likes their victims completely unaware. Because it's easiest to take them down then. If they're not wary, if they're not cautious, it's easier to take them down. That's why I say on this show, watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Because I know better, and I would rather you know better than fall victim to them too. Because there is somebody out there looking to fuck you. And it's not necessarily the same entities that have been at it your entire life. It could be some new people you don't even know about. But if you're preparing yourself, it makes it that much harder to get to you. Anyway, I've been digging around, and you know me. If you've been listening to the show for any duration of time, you know my opinions on the whole off-chain thing. That I think it's a boondoggle. That eventually it's not going to turn out the way that a lot of people think it will be. In that you won't even be transacting Bitcoin. You'll just be transacting some bullshit token that's supposedly based on a volume of Bitcoin somewhere deep in the blockchain in a transaction you were not associated with. Just it happened, the tokens were issued, and now you have some of them. And supposedly somewhere along the line, you'll be able to exchange those for Bitcoin. Well, I don't believe that shit. I believe that the reason why you use abstractions of things is because you do not have the thing itself. It's very, very simple. You know, if all the people that have, say, gold certificates were to cash out their gold certificates for physical gold at this moment, every single bursar that is issued a certificate against a volume of gold would go broke tomorrow. And it's because there is, like, I don't even know if anybody's bothered to estimate it in this day and age, but I remember the last time that I'd heard about it, that there were hundreds of certificates out there against sums of gold that do not exist. They just don't exist. Where, you've got a Goldman Sachs, and say they've got 5 tons of gold at the New York Fed, right? They've got a claim on 5 tons of the gold. And they issue one security against it, and they put it on the Dow. And then they issue another security against it, and they put it on the NASDAQ. They don't bother to tell anybody about it. And again, I'm sure there's technical reasons why this wouldn't happen, due to the markets or whatever. But just for the point of what I'm saying here, you've got 2 different exchanges, 2 different securities, 1 volume of gold. Okay? So if at any time more than 50% of those people want to cash out, that volume of gold is gone. But it's worse than that, because people look at the certificates as it's an asset. So they count it on their balance sheet, and then they're securitized in some bundle of other businesses. And so now that asset is tripled. It's not just on 2 exchanges under 2 different securities. It's under another security issued against another grouping of people, of assets. But it's on the asset sheet, so it counts as, that's wealth. They could potentially liquidate those securities, the certificates there, get that gold, and we can get it. But that'll never happen. That'll never happen. I mean, we have yet to see a significant run on gold, but if we ever did, oh my goodness. Fort Knox itself, I believe, from that last report that we read I think it was the last show. It was either the last show or the show before last. But according to that report, in my mind at least, it created a little bit of doubt as to whether or not the volumes of gold in Fort Knox and the New York Fed and the other repositories under the U.S. Treasury are insolvent. I don't believe that they have the gold that they claim that they have. I do not believe that the gold is of the purity that they claim it is. And I don't believe they've done proper assays recently enough to have a full accounting of exactly how much gold is in there or who it actually belongs to. So that being said, the idea of troll-alawing off into abstractions of Bitcoin and using those as money instead of Bitcoin itself, it's completely fucking ridiculous. Why am I going to do that when I can take ownership of the Bitcoin in 10 minutes? That's assuming the blocks are big enough to contain everybody's transactions, which currently they are not. And that's by intent. If you were here during the period between 2014 and 2017, you were able to see pretty much how the whole thing was going to spawn out. I mean, you could see the path that they were following along, where several times now the media and in legislation even, they've gone so far as to not mention Bitcoin or altcoins by name, but they talk about blockchain. Like that means something. Like there's a fucking blockchain out there that doesn't have some sort of incentive structure behind it that makes the miners play by the rules. They don't even talk about miners. They just talk about blockchain. Like, there's going to be like some microchip implanted in your hand or something, and you're going to be a node on the network, and it's not going to exist as it does now, but you'll have some Lightning Network node on your hand, and they'll track and tax all your transactions and all that. But the idea of Bitcoin itself existing, it seems to me they're trying to delete it. And this thing on YouTube with them deleting so many crypto influencers off their service, I think that was just a warning shot. It's something they intend to do. They were testing the waters to see what kind of reaction they would get. And enough of you out there know exactly what Bitcoin is, and enough of you out there are creating media on YouTube that they received a little bit of return fire over it. And I think over the longer term, they're going to understand that they need us. The whole discourse behind cryptocurrencies necessitates portals like YouTube. Without us, YouTube doesn't exist. What is YouTube? It's in the fucking name, YouTube. It's you on TV. Well, if they're trying to silence you, there's no YouTube. There's just MeTube. But anyway, so with this whole deletion of memetics, this assault on influencers on social media, to me it's indicative of a larger plan. A larger memetic plan where we're just going to scrub Bitcoin clean of everything that it was supposed to be, and we're going to shape it into what we want it to be, and everything will be cool. We'll just transition over to quote-unquote blockchain, and we can do our thing in the background, and nobody's the wiser because you still got $5 in your bank account, and so it's all cool, right? Wrong. When that money isn't worth anything because there's no trust behind it, you already know it's not associated with gold, and fuck, it's probably not associated with Bitcoin at all. It's probably operating off of some bullshit side chain that anybody in the universe could start right now. And you would not be the wiser of it. But see, one of the problems that I've always seen with this is that eventually the transaction fees are going to get higher. Period. It's a matter of economics. And it's a matter of the way that the whole system works, that the more demand there is, the higher demand there is for that block space, the more expensive it's going to get. And when I'm wanting to get my transaction on the blockchain and Goldman Sachs wants to start up their fucking payment channel with $3 billion worth of fucking Bitcoin on it, I'm probably going to get bumped because Goldman Sachs can pay a much bigger transaction fee than I can. And of course it's of an incentive to do it, because they could be pulling transaction fees off of all the transactions they allow to happen within their payment channel. Allowed to happen, because ultimately they'll be the ones in control of whether or not they're processing your transactions or including your transactions in the whole ledger going out to the blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain. So that's my vision of how this whole thing plays out, is that eventually you and I won't be able to transact directly on the Bitcoin blockchain, and so we will require proxies to do it for us, because it's just too expensive to transact on the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, think about that though. There are over 5,000 cryptocurrencies out there, many of which work just as well, if not much better than Bitcoin does. So, with all that potential block space on those other networks, why am I going to trap my monetary value into this payment channel and be forced to transact with when and how the host wants to allow my transaction to go? See, I don't see any freedom there. I see that as being corralled right back into a cage again. And so here it is. I've been digging around and I found this thing. It's called cryptoeconomic traffic analysis of Bitcoin's Lightning Network, and this is by Ferenc Beres, Istvan A. Series, and Andreas A. Bankazur. This is from the Institute for Computer Science and Control, SZTAKI, Hungary, as in the country. And then, let's see, Eötvös University, Budapest, Hungary, and Széchenyi University, Győr, Hungary. So yeah, let's get into this bad boy. Lightning Network is designed to amend the scalability and privacy issues of Bitcoin. In a payment channel network where Bitcoin transactions are issued off the blockchain and onion routed through a private payment path with the aim to settle transactions in a faster, cheaper, and more private manner, as they are not recorded in a costly to maintain, slow, and public ledger. In this work, we design a traffic simulator to empirically study Ellen's transaction fees and privacy provisions. The simulator relies only on publicly available data of network structure and capacities, and generates transactions under assumptions that we attempt to validate based on information spread by certain blog posts of LN node owners. Our findings on the estimated revenue from transaction fees are in line with the widespread opinion that participation is economically irrational for the majority of the large routing nodes who currently hold the network together. Either traffic or transaction fees must increase by orders of magnitude to make payment routing economically viable. We give worst-case estimates for the potential fee increase by assuming strong price competition among the routers. We also estimate how current channel structures and pricing policies respond to a potential increase in traffic, and show examples of nodes who are estimated to operate with economically feasible revenue. Our second set of findings considers privacy. Even if transactions are onion routed, strong statistical evidence on payment source and destination can be inferred, as many transaction paths only consist of a single intermediary by the side effect of Ellen's small world nature. Based on our simulation experiments, we, number one, quantitatively characterize the privacy shortcomings of current LN operation, and number two, propose a method to inject additional hops in routing paths to demonstrate how privacy can be strengthened with very little with very little additional transactional cost. My apologies there. Number one, introduction. Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer decentralized cryptographic currency. It is a censorship-resistant, permissionless digital payment system. Anyone can join and leave the network whenever they would like to. Participants can issue payments which are inserted into a distributed replicated ledger called blockchain. Since there are all network participants, the necessity of full validation severely limits the scalability of decentralized cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin could theoretically process 27 transactions per second. No, it can't. However, in practice, its average transaction throughput is 7 transactions per second. This is in stark contrast with the throughput of mainstream payment providers. For example, in peak hours, Visa is able to achieve 47,000 transactions per second on its network. To alleviate scalability issues, the cryptocurrency community is continuously inventing new protocols and technologies. A major line of research is focused on amending existing currencies without modifying the consensus layer by introducing a new layer, i.e., off-chain transactions. These proposals are called Layer 2 protocols. They allow parties to exchange transactions locally without broadcasting them to the blockchain network, updating a local balance sheet instead, and only utilizing the blockchain as recourse for disputes. For an exhaustive review of off-chain protocols, refer to number 12, and that's references. They've got references throughout this thing. Among these proposals, the most prominent ones are payment channel networks, PCNs, in which nodes have several open payment channels, being able to connect to all nodes, possibly through multiple hops. The most popular instantiation of a PCN is Bitcoin's Lightning Network. A public permissionless PCN, which allows anyone to issue Bitcoin transactions without the need to wait for several blocks for payment confirmation, and currently, with transaction fees orders of magnitude lower than on-chain fees. LN is suitable for several application scenarios, for instance, micropayments or e-commerce, with the intent to make everyday Bitcoin usage more convenient and frictionless. LN's core value proposition is that Bitcoin users can send low-value payments instantly in a privacy-preserving manner with negligible fees, which has led to quite a widespread of adoption among Bitcoin users. Actually, not really. The main difficulty with analyzing how LN operates is that the exact transaction routes are cryptographically hidden from eavesdroppers due to onion routing. LN can only be observed through public information on nodes and channel openings, closings, and capacity changes. The actual amount of Bitcoin circulated in LN is unknown, although in blog posts, some node owners publish high-level statistics such as their revenue, which can be used as grounds for estimation. To analyze LN's efficiency and profitability, we designed a traffic simulator for LN to analyze the routing costs and potential revenue at different nodes. We assigned roles to nodes by collecting external data, labeling nodes as wallet services, shops, and other merchants. Using node labels, we simulated the flow of Bitcoin transactions from ordinary users towards merchants over time based on the natural assumption that transactions are routed through the path that changes the minimum total transaction fee. By taking the dynamically changing transaction fees of the LN nodes into account, we designed a method to predict the optimal fee pricing policy for individual nodes in case of the cheapest path routing. To the best of our knowledge, there has been no previous empirical study on LN transaction fees. Our traffic simulator hence opens the possibility for addressing questions of transaction routes, amounts, fees, networks, and network structure. And other measures otherwise depending upon strictly private information based solely on the observable network structure. In particular, in this paper, the simulator enables us to draw two major conclusions. Economic incentives. Currently, LN provides little to no financial incentive for payment routing. Low routing fees do not sufficiently compensate the routing nodes that essentially hold the network together. Our results show that in general transaction fees are underpriced, since for many possible payments there is no alternative path to execute the transaction. In other words, those users could be extorted for more money. We also give estimates of how the current network and fee structure responds to increases in traffic, thus assessing the income potential to different strategies and providing an open source tool for nodes to experimentally design their channels, capacities, and fees. Privacy. We quantitatively analyze the privacy provisions of LNs. Despite onion routing, we observe that strong statistical evidence can be gathered about the sender and receiver of LN payments, since a substantial portion of payments involve only a single routing intermediary who can easily de-anonymize participants. We find that using deliberately suboptimal, longer routing paths can potentially restore privacy while only marginally increasing the cost of an average transaction. The rest of the paper is organized as follows. In Section 2, we review the growing body of literature on PCNs, and specifically on LNs. In Section 3, we provide a brief background on LNs and its fee structure. In Section 4, our traffic simulator is presented. We discuss our experimental results in 3 sections. We investigate the price competition and the potential to increase fees under various assumptions. In Section 5, we estimate the profitability of central router nodes under estimated current and potentially increased future traffic. In Section 6, finally, we estimate the amount of privacy shortcomings due to short paths and potential mitigations in Section 7. We conclude our paper in Section 8. Number 2, related works. To the best of our knowledge, we have conducted the first empirical analysis on LN transaction fees, similar to the way empirical and theoretical studies on-chain transaction fees have been conducted during the early adoption of cryptocurrencies. Mosier and Bohm conducted a longitudinal study on Bitcoin's nascent transaction fee market. Kaskaloglu asserted that near-zero transaction fees cannot last long as block rewards diminish and transaction fees increase. Kaskaloglu asserted that Easley et al. Developed a game theoretic model to explain the factors leading to the emergence of transaction fees and provided empirical evidence on the model predictions. Recently, BitMEX, a single LN node, has experimented with setting different transaction fees to measure the effect on routing revenue, which shows a similar pattern to our simulation experiments. Unlike on-chain transactions, the LN transaction fee market is not yet consolidated. Some actors behave financially rationally, while the vast majority exhibit altruistic behavior, which parallels the early days of Bitcoin. Similarly to on-chain fees, we expect to see more maturity and similar evolution in the LN transaction fee market in the future. Meaning they expect it to go up. Even before the launch of LNs, many works studied the theoretical aspects of PCNs. Brenzai et al. Studied the impact of LN on Bitcoin transaction costs. They conjectured that a lower miner income from on-chain transaction fees as users tend to use and issue transactions on the LNs. In 17, the transaction fees of various payment channels are compared, however without reference to the underlying network dynamics. Depleted payment channels account for many efficiency issues in PCNs. Cahill and Gervais devised a handy algorithm to revive imbalanced payment channels without opening new ones. PCNs can also be considered to be creation games. A user might decide to create a payment channel to a destination node or just route the payment in the already existing PCN. The former is more expensive. However, repeated payments can amortize the on-chain cost of opening a payment channel. Avericchiotti et al. Found that given a free routing fee policy, the star graph constitutes a Nash equilibrium. In a similar game theoretic work, the effect of routing fees was analyzed. It was again found that the star graph is a near optimal solution to the network design problem. Even though transactions in LNs are not recorded on the blockchain, they do not provide privacy guarantees. As early as 2016, Herrera et al. Anticipated the privacy issues emerging in a PCN. Single intermediary payments do not provide privacy, although they have higher utility. Tang et al. Asserts that a PCN either operates in a low privacy or low utility regime. Although a recently devised cryptographic protocol solves the privacy issues of single intermediary routed payments. The protocol is not yet in use due to its complexity of implementation. After the launch of LNs, several studies have investigated the graph properties of LNs. They describe the topology of LN as an arbitrary chosen point in time and found that LNs exhibit a hub and spoke topology. Yeah, that was predicted the whole time. And its degree of distribution can well be approximated with a scale-free distribution. Furthermore, these works assessed the robustness of the network against various types of attack strategies. They showed that LN is susceptible to both node and channel removal based attacks. These works are restricted to a static snapshot of LNs. The lack of temporal data has largely limited the insights and results of these contributions. In a YouTube video, an estimate of routing income is given based on the assumption that payment probability between any node pair is the same. As it is easy to see, under this assumption, the routing income of a node is proportional to its betweenness centrality. In our simulation experiments, we will explicitly compare our prediction to the one based on betweenness centrality and show how the finer structure of our estimation procedure yields more plausible results. At the time of writing, 4 research groups published results on payment channel network simulators, each serving purposes very different from ours. Out of them, the simulator of Branzai et al. Is the only one that has pointers to publicly available resources. Their simulator only considers single bidirectional channels, or a star topology, and its main goal is to analyze channel opening costs and depletion. This simulator is extended in number 10 to generate and analyze Barabasi-Albert graphs as underlying networks. Cloth, number 6, is able to provide performance statistics, and that was spelled capital CL, lowercase c, capital TH. Cloth is able to provide performance statistics, ergo probability of payment failure on a given PCN graph. However, it does not analyze transaction fees, profitability, optimal fee policy, and privacy provisions of LNs. In contrast, RN Traffic Simulator can produce insights in those areas as well. Finally, the simulator in number 35 is a distributed method to minimize the transaction fee of a payment path, subject to timeliness and feasibility constraints for the success ratio and the average accepted value of the transactions. Number 3. Routing and fees in Lightning Network payment channels. A payment channel allows users to make multiple cryptocurrency transactions without committing all of the transactions to the blockchain. In a typical payment channel, only 2 transactions are added to the blockchain, but theoretically, an unlimited number of payments can be made between the participants. Parties can open a payment channel by escrowing funds on the blockchain for subsequent use only between those 2 parties. The sum of the individual balances on the 2 sides of the channel is usually referred to as the capacity. We illustrate the option of a payment channel by an example. Let Alice and Bob escrow 1 and 2 tokens respectively. By committing a transaction to the blockchain that sets up a new channel, once the channel is finalized, Alice and Bob can send escrowed funds back and forth by revoking the previous state of the channel and digitally signing the new state updated by the transaction tokens, or by the transacted tokens. For example, Alice can send 0.1 of her 1 Bitcoin to Bob so that the channel state is Alice equals 0.9, Bob equals 2.1. Once the parties decide to close the payment channel, they can commit its final state together. Its final state through another blockchain transaction, on-chain transaction that is. Maintaining a payment channel has an opportunity cost since users must lock up their funds while the channel is open, and funds are not redeemable until the channel is closed. Hence, it is not practical to expect users to maintain a channel with every individual with whom they may ever need to transact. In a payment channel network, nodes have several open payment channels between each other. However, not necessarily with all other nodes. The network of bidirectional payment channels allows two parties to exchange funds even if they do not have a direct payment channel. For example, if Alice has a balance of 1 token with Ingrid, and Ingrid has a balance of 2 tokens with Bob locked in a payment channel, then Alice can route payments to Bob through Ingrid up to the amount of the balances of Alice and Ingrid. Assuming that Alice sends 0.2 tokens to Bob, after routing, we have the following channel balances. Alice equals 0.8, Ingrid equals 0.2 on the first channel, and Ingrid equals 1.8, and Bob equals 0.2 on the second channel. In a payment channel, cryptographic protections are used to ensure that the channel updates in both directions are executed automatically, i.e., either both or neither of them are performed. In addition, incentive-based protections are also implemented to prevent users from stealing funds in a channel, ergo by committing a revoked state. Similar techniques allow payment routing for longer paths. Furthermore, payment router intermediaries are frequently motivated to relay payments as they are entitled to claim transaction fees after each successfully routed payment. LN as a PCN consists of nodes representing users and undirected weighted edges representing payment channels. Users can open and close bidirectional payment channels between each other and route payments through these connections. Therefore, LNs can be modeled as an undirected, weighted multigraph since nodes can have multiple channels between each other. The weights on the edges correspond to the capacity of the payment channels. In LNs, only capacities of payment channels are known publicly, while individual balances are kept secret. This is because if individual balances are known, the balance updates would reveal successful transactions, hence preventing transaction privacy. And we're going to pause right there and go ahead and break to some music. But currently we're on page 4 of 21. And there's a lot of references on this one, so it's probably like 10 or so pages of text and then a whole bunch of references. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down into some music. And as far as where to go, I hadn't actually picked anything, but I feel like it's time. Getting a little dry, I need some caffeine. So as far as where to go, I think a little Sepultura, Subtraction, here on Coin Metal. And that was Exodus with Open Season. Yeah, so far we've gotten to, what was that, page 4? Yeah. We're on section 3.1, Routing in LN and Fee Mechanism. LN applies source routing, meaning that it is always the sender who decides the payment route towards the intended recipient. Packets are onion routed, which means that intermediary nodes only know the identity of their immediate predecessor and successor in the route. Therefore, from a privacy perspective, nodes are incentivized to avoid single intermediary paths, as in those cases, intermediaries are potentially able to identify both the sender and the receiver. LN provides financial incentives for intermediaries to route payments. In Lightning Network, there are two types of fees that a sender pays to the intermediaries in case the transaction involves more than one payment channel. More than one payment channels. Weird. Nodes can set and charge the following fees after each routed payment. The base fee, a fixed fee denoted as base fee, charged each time a payment is routed through the channel. Fee rate, a percentage fee denoted as fee rate charged on the value, TX value, of the payment. Therefore, the total transaction fee, TX fee, to an intermediary can be obtained as TX fee equals base fee plus fee rate times TX value. We note that the base fee and fee rate is set by individual users, thus forming a fee market for payment routing. 3.2. Throughout our work, we analyze two main data sources that are both available online. First, we gathered an edge stream data that describes every payment channel opening and closure from block height 501.337 in December 28, 2017 to 576.140 in May 15, 2019. Second, we collect snapshots of the public graph using the L&D client and utilize snapshots taken by Rower et al. As well. We incite that only the latter dataset contains transaction fee information. Thus, the experiments in section 4 and 7 are only based on 40 consecutive LN graph snapshots from 2019 February and March. Additionally, we labeled LN nodes by relying on the tags provided by the node owner. This allows us to distinguish between ordinary users and merchants. We assume that merchants receive payments more often than regular users. This is essential to understanding how popular payment channels are depleted throughout LN by repeated use in one direction. The number of merchant nodes in the union of all 40 snapshots is 169. First, we describe the graphs defined based on the 40 consecutive LN graph snapshots from 2019 February and March. We consider a minimum meaningful capacity of 60,000, approximately $5 and exclude edges with a capacity less than G. I'm not sure what that symbol means. In G, as they cannot be used in payments with a value of something. Although LN channels are bidirectional, in our experiments we consider two directed edges so that we can use channels in one direction if the capacity is exhausted in the other direction. We also ignore edges in the direction where they are flagged as disabled in the data. The properties of the LN network averaged over the 40 daily snapshots is as follows. The number of the union of all nodes is 4,787. The average number of nodes in a day is 3,358. Non-isolated nodes, after filtering disabled edge directions and edges with capacity less than 60,000 satoshis, 3,132. Size of the largest strongly connected recipient, 2,206. Size of the largest strongly connected component is 2,206. The degree of distribution of Ln follows power law, the effect of preferential attachment. The phenomenon that new edges tend to attach to high-degree nodes is clearly seen in Figure 3. Ever since Ln was launched, its popularity has grown steadily, and that was Figure 1. This growth in popularity has caused the average degree increasing and the diameter decreasing over time. Thus, a densification phenomenon observed for a wide class of general networks in Figure 18. The figure degree steadily increases while the effective diameter decreases only after a first initial expansion phase, and that's Figure 2. Following the densification power law, Figure 4, we observe that the higher its degree, the longer a node participant in Ln, Figure 5. Additionally, the channels adjacent to merchants have a shorter average lifetime, 5,198 blocks, than the average channel lifetime, which is 5,474 blocks. We see the difference of the full distribution in Figure 6. We suspect that subsequent payments deplete the channels of the merchants, who then close those channels, collect their funds, and open new channels. We observe strong central point dominance in LNs, Figure 7, which indicates that Ln is more centralized than a Barabasi-Albert or Edros-Renyi graph of equal size. This is in line with the predictions of Figure 2 and 1, affirming that PCNs lean to form a star graph-like topology to achieve Nash equilibrium. Counterintuitively, LNs also exhibit high transivity, also known as global clustering coefficient. See Figure 8. One would expect that nodes have no incentive to close triangles, as they might as well route payments along already existing payment channels. However, we observed that the vast majority, 68.76% of all created payment channels, connect nodes only one hop, distance 2, away from each other. See Figure 9. We believe that in most cases this is caused by replacing depleted payment channels. The high transivity in Ln is especially striking when it is compared to other social graphs. Ln has roughly the same clustering, a whole bunch of figures, coefficient as the YouTube social network, and that's Figure 24. Number 4, Lightning Network Traffic Simulator. In this section, we introduce our main contribution, the Ln Traffic Simulator, which we designed for daily routing income and and traffic estimation of network estimates. Simulation is necessary to analyze the fine-grained structure, since the key concept of Ln is privacy. Data will never include transaction amounts, sources, and targets in any form, and it is very unlikely that it will give information on the capacity distribution over the channels, since that would leak information on the actual transactions. Hence, we need a simulator to understand the capabilities and limitations of the network to route transactions. By simulating transactions at different traffic volumes and transaction amount, we shed light on the fee pricing policies of major router entities, as well as on privacy considerations, as we will describe in sections 5 and 7. In our simulator, we make the assumption that the sender nodes always choose the cheapest route to execute their transactions. Due to the source routing nature of LNs, nodes are expected to possess the knowledge of the network structure and current transaction fees to make price-optimal decisions. Note that in the LN client, the source code selects the routing for their transactions. For example, the sender node may choose the shortest instead of the cheapest path to the target if speed is more important than the transaction cost, and our simulator can be modified accordingly. The main goal of our traffic simulator is to generate a certain number of transactions given as an input parameter by using only the information on the edges and their capacities in a given LN snapshot. To generate transaction sources and targets, we predefine the fraction of the transactions that lead to merchants based on the assumption that the majority of transactions correspond to money sent at shops and service providers. We fix the amount as constant to reduce the complexity of the simulation model. Formally, we use the following notation. G. A daily graph snapshot of the LN with channels represented by pairs of edges in both directions. Disabling directions and too low capacity edges are excluded. Let's see the number of random transactions in the sample, and then there's a symbol, the constant value of each transaction in satoshis, and then the last one is the ratio of merchants in the endpoints of the random transactions. The available data only includes the total channel capacity, but not its distribution between the endpoints. Thus, before simulation, we randomly initialize the capacity between the channel endpoints. For example, if F is the total capacity of the channel between nodes U and V, we let 0 be equal or greater to Y times UV, and greater than T and greater than or equal to capital T, and 0 is greater than or equal to Y times V times U, or times VU. Is greater than or equal to T, denote the maximum value in satoshis, which can be routed to U from U to V and vice versa. Both Y times UV and Y times VU change after each transaction that uses this channel while maintaining Y times UV plus Y times VU equals T at all times. If the edge has capacity of less than the constant in a direction, that is, Y times UV is greater than the constant, the edge direction UV is depleted. In the simulation, a depleted edge, UV, cannot be used before a payment is made in the opposite direction, VU, in which case Y times UV is less than or equal to the constant will hold. Optimally, in Section 6, we will also investigate the effect of removing this constant and allow the simulation to use an edge direction without limits. We also note that routers can balance payment channels without closing and reopening existing ones by finding cycles containing a depleted channel and route funds on a circular payment path. However, this option is not implemented in the current version of our simulator. We start the simulation by first sampling our transactions, each of the amount of the constant, and first we select T senders uniformly at random from all nodes. Recipients are selected by putting emphasis on merchants, M. We choose E times T merchants with the probability proportional to their degree, in addition to 1 minus E minus T recipients that are selected uniformly at random from all nodes, including both merchants and non-merchants. Finally, we randomly match senders and recipients. And I'm not going to read all of that crap. What I'm looking for is the information. Oh, let's see. No. Due to several random factors in the simulation, including source and target sampling and capacity distribution initialization, we ran the traffic simulator 10 times. We use 40 consecutive daily snapshots in our data. We always report the mean node statistics, ergo the node routing income daily traffic of LN entities, over our sets of 400 simulations for each parameter setting. 4.1 Feasibility, validation, and choice of parameters. We validate our simulation model by comparing published information with our estimates for the income and traffic of the most relevant LN router entities. These nodes are responsible for keeping the network operational by routing most of the transactions. Our key source of information is the blog post number 19 on lnbig.com, the most relevant routing entity who owns several nodes on LN, as well as approximately half of the total network capacity. In a typical day, lnbig.com serves 200 to 300 transactions through all of its nodes, rarely exceeding 600 in a single day. Number 2, on routing commissions, LNBIG earns 5,000 to 10,000 satoshis per day. We manage to reproduce daily traffic and routing income similar to lnbig.com by sampling 7,000 transactions with a constant of 60,000 satoshis, approximately $5, and merchant ratio. Number of merchants is 0.08, I guess. The estimated revenue as the function of parameters shown in figure 10, also showing the target daily income and target ranges stated by lnbig.com. To summarize, simulating a few thousand micropayments with mostly merchant recipients resulted in similar traffic and revenue as described over the nodes of LNBIG. We chose 7,000 transactions and 60,000 blah blah blah. We chose 7,000 transactions, 60,000 satoshis, and 0.8 participants or 0.8 merchants to regular users as the default parameters of our traffic simulator in order to draw some conclusions on LN node profitability and transaction privacy in sections 5 and 7. 4.2 Traffic Simulator Response to Parameter Changes. Next, we examine the stability of our traffic simulator for different ratios of merchant endpoints, E. We note that the set of transaction recipients can be sampled uniformly at random by choosing equals 0.0, while in case E equals 1.0, every sampled transaction has merchant endpoints. Thus, by increasing the value of E, the traffic can be centralized towards LN service providers, a trusted third party. Gosh, I recall like thousands of people telling me that there wouldn't be any LN service providers. As determined in the previous subsection, we set the remaining parameters R equals 7,000 and the constant to 60,000 satoshis. Our goal is to observe stable traffic characteristics throughout a sequence of days, measured as the correlation of node statistics across days. Towards this end, we measured the following node-level summaries of the simulated traffic every day. Number 1, routing traffic, the number of transactions that are forwarded by a given node. Number 2, routing income, the sum of all transaction fees that a given node charges for payment routing. Number 3, sender traffic, the number of transactions that are initiated by a given node, and the sender fee, the sum of all transaction fees that a given node has to pay for its transactions to be forwarded by intermediary nodes. In Figure 11, the Spearman, Kendall, unweighted and weighted Kendall 10 correlations of routing traffic and income are shown for E to be 0.0, 0.2, 0.5, 0.8, and 1.0. For the definitions, see Figure 34. We observe high-weighted Kendall-Tau correlation, which means that the set of nodes with the highest routing income and traffic are very similar regardless of the ratio of merchants E among transaction recipients. By contrast, we observe low rates of unweighted Kendall-Tau. Since the set of nodes is dominated by low-traffic ones, the Kendall-Tau value also depends mostly on the simulated traffic amount of these nodes. Hence, low Kendall-Tau implies that nodes with low traffic and income fluctuate as transaction endpoints are selected at random. Most of these nodes have probably no traffic when transactions are centralized towards service providers. E equals 1.0. In Figure 12, we assess the stability of the simulation by showing the mean correlation of 4 different node statistics over 10 independent simulations for each snapshot. 2 of the statistics, routing income and routing traffic, show high correlation for all values of E, which means that nodes with high daily routing income and traffic are stable across independent experiments. By contrast, sender transaction fees and sender traffic especially vary highly, which is a natural consequence of uniform random sampling for source selection. By our measurements, ratio E only affects the sender transaction fee. By increasing the value of E, more and more transactions are centralized toward merchants. Thus, sender nodes pay the transaction fees to more or less the same set of intermediary nodes, which results in higher transaction fee correlations. Bunch of figures. Figure 10, the mean estimated routing income and number of routed payments of LNBIG.com entity with respect to the traffic simulator parameters. The difficult parameter setting, daily transaction count R equals 7,000. The single transaction amount of the constant equals 60,000 satoshis, and the merchant endpoint, ratio E, 0.8, is marked by vertical black dotted lines. The daily income and traffic ranges stated by LNBIG.com are marked by horizontal red dashed lines. Finally, we compare our simulated routing income with simple estimates based on the properties of the nodes in LN as a graph. In a YouTube video, Pickard shows the routing income of a node is proportional to its betweenness centrality in case the payment probability between any node pair is the same. In Figure 13, we observe that our simulated routing income with parameters of a constant of 60,000 sats and 7,000 transactions per second, and the ratio of merchants to regular users being 0.0, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, and 1.0 is well correlated with the betweenness centrality of a node. However, the Spearman correlation decreases with larger E, which means that since payment endpoints are biased towards merchants, we need a more accurate estimation method. In Figure 14, we show two more node statistics, degree and total node capacity, both correlating much weaker to our prediction that both correlating much weaker to our prediction than betweenness centrality. In summary, the set of nodes with high routing income and traffic are consistent across independent simulations, regardless of the ratio of merchants among sampled transaction endpoints, while randomization naturally has a big influence on the low traffic end of the network. The low traffic end can be estimated by incorporating the role of a node in the simulation, as we do in a very simple way by controlling traffic towards merchants with the parameter of E. Oh, shit. Man. Number 5. Transaction fee competition. Our first analysis addresses the observed and potential profitability of LN, which is questioned in several blog posts. Let's see, I guess there's a citation 3 and a citation 19. A core value proposition of LN is that Bitcoin users can execute payments with negligible transaction fees. This feature may be cherished by payment initiators, but in case of insufficiently low network traffic, it could be unprofitable for router entities. Our goal is to assess how transaction costs depend on topology and to what extent they are targets to competition. To measure transaction fee price competition, we use our traffic simulator to estimate daily node routing income and traffic volume for the 40 consecutive LN snapshots in our data. Our findings can, let's see here, where's it at? Oh shit. Looks like I missed something here. Where's it at? Our findings on, my apologies sir, I need to scroll way down here. How revenue from routing depend on transaction fees shows a similar shape as experimented for BitMEX, a single LN node. Figure 3. We use the parameters of the simulator that we calibrated based on published information on the income of certain nodes. Figure 19 in section 4.1. Our analysis in this section confirms that transaction fees are indeed very low and that are potentially underpriced for relevant router nodes. To analyze the competition that a node X faces in the network, we compare the simulated traffic in a daily LN snapshot G and in the graph G to the X that we obtain by removing node X from G. By attempting to route the same set of R transactions on G and G to the X, first of all we measure the number of failed payments, some weird symbol X, that were originally routed through X but are incapable of reaching destination when X is out of service. For each node X, the failure ratio of individual node traffic is a bunch of numbers where I don't know how to read it out to you. In Figure 15, we show the average ratio of the traffic of a node that has no alternate routing path for 5 income groups defined as the top 1 through 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 50, 50 through 100, and 101 through router nodes, or through whatever router nodes with highest simulated income. For each group, the average is taken over its nodes x, considering the fraction of transactions, p times x over r times x, that cannot be routed anymore after removing x. It is interesting to observe that for the first four groups, the average ratio of traffic with no alternate path is at least 0.3. This means that even if the 100 routers with the highest simulated traffic increase their transaction fees close to on-chain fees, the majority of payment sources would have no less expensive option to route their payments. In the next experiment, we estimate the extent transaction prices are potentially limited by the competition among alternate routes in LN. We take a highly pessimistic view by assuming that a transaction that can only be routed by relying on an intermediary node X will select a payment method outside of LN immediately if X increases its transaction fees. For other transactions, we search for the next cheapest route that avoids X and assume that X could increase its fees to match the second cheapest option. In other words, our analysis ignores the failed transactions P times X and is based on the remaining R times X minus P times X, where payment routing avoiding node X being available. For each of these transactions, the difference of the total fee S can be calculated from the fees of the original path in G and the alternative route in GX. Our assumption is that if node X increases its base fee by B, transactions with S greater to or equal to B are still willing to pay for the additional costs, while for S less than B payments will be routed on the cheaper alternative path, where S is the fee difference to the cheapest path avoiding X. Thus, by observing B is greater than or equal to 0 at different thresholds, we can propose an optimal B to the star base fee increment for each router node. We estimate the optimal fee increase B star for each node over multiple snapshots and independent simulations for 5 node income groups that we previously defined in figure 15. We show that the average optimal base fee increment as well as the corresponding routing income gain, feature 16. In our measurements, we find that nodes with high routing income could still increase their base fee by a few thousand satoshis, thus generating an average gain of 10,000 to 100,000 satoshis. 0.8 through $8 US dollars in their daily income. Despite the low gain, our assumption is that it could get orders of magnitude higher if router nodes increase their base fee in succession, which could have a major impact on the competition for transaction costs. Number 6. Profitability estimation of central routers. Router entities that are an essential part of router entities are an essential part of LN. They are responsible for keeping the network operational by forwarding payments. In this section, we estimate the current routing revenue of each of these central nodes and give predictions how their income will change if the traffic over the current network increases. Note that our technique can also be used for node owners to predict the effect of opening and closing channels, as well as changing capacities and transaction fees. Central routing nodes are binding a huge amount of financial resources in the form of channel capacity, which enables them to serve high volumes of traffic. In general, router entities consist of a single node, but sometimes they have multiple LN nodes. For example, lnbig.com owns 25 nodes in our dataset. One of our main motivations was to estimate the annual return of investment, ROI, for entities by simulating daily traffic over several snapshots. In our measurements, we calculate annual ROI as follows: estimated daily routing income in Satoshis times 365 over, or divided by, the total amount of Satoshis bound by channel capacities equals ROI. By simulating traffic with parameters of R equals 7,000 and the constant of each transaction is 60,000 Satoshis, and E is and the ratio of merchants to regular users is 0.8, we estimated the daily average income and traffic for each router. From these statistics and additional entity capacity data we downloaded from 1ml.com, we estimated annual ROI in Table 1. We present all router entities with at least 50 Satoshis of simulated income and 10 forwarded transactions per day on average. For each of these nodes, the following statistics are presented. Number 1, entity capacity as downloaded from 1ml.com. Capacity function is the fraction of entity capacity and total network capacity. Remarkably, half of the total network capacity is bound by the nodes of lnbig.com. Number 2, average transaction fee, daily income, and daily traffic based on the simulated mean cost in Satoshis that a given entity charges for each payment routing over his channels during the observed 40 snapshots in 10 random simulations as explained in section 3.1. Annual ROI calculated from simulated daily income and entity capacity by Formula 2. Economical fee in Satoshis is the amount required on average to reach an annual 5% ROI. Fee ratio is the ratio of economical and the actual transaction fees. And this is just basically, it's giving us a legend for a bunch of their charts here. But yeah, we're on page 13, starting 13 of 21. Let me see how much more text there is. I might run this all the way through, and then we might be just breaking for... Okay, let's see. Right about there. And that's page 19 of 21. So I don't know, there's like 8 more pages. Let's go ahead and just throw down with the conclusion here. Number 8, conclusion. In this work, we analyzed Lightning Network, Bitcoin's payment channel network, from a network scientific and crypto-economic point of view. Past results on the Lightning Network were unable to analyze the fee and revenue structure, as the data on the actual payments and amounts is strictly private. Our main contribution is an open-source LN traffic simulator that enables research on the crypto-economic consequences of the network topology without requiring information in the actual financial flow over the network. The simulator can incorporate the assumption that the payments are mostly targeted toward the merchants. Merchants identified by using the tags provided by node owners. We validated some key parameters of the simulator such as traffic, volume, and amount by simulating the revenue of central router nodes and comparing the results with information published by certain node owners. Our simulator provided us with 2 main insights. First, the participation of most router nodes in LN is economically irrational with the present fee structure. However, signs of sustainability are seen with increased overall traffic volume over the network. By contrast, at the present level of usage, if routers start acting rationally, payment fees will rise significantly, which might harm one of LN's core value propositions, namely negligible fees. Second, the topological properties of LN make a considerable fraction of payments easily de-anonymizable. However, with the present fee structure, paths can be obfuscated by injecting extra hops with low cost to enhance payment privacy. We released the source code for our simulator for further research at GitHub. That's cool. It seems to me there are a few assumptions that they might have skipped, but we did skip some information, and some of it was indiscernible by yours truly, so incomplete analysis. But I don't want to jump all over their analysis. I mean, incomplete is in my analysis of it would be incomplete. But I think that one thing they do note is that it makes it cheaper to go with higher connected nodes, right? Well, if the higher connected nodes are, say, banks, then what choice do you have but to continue to enrich banks, but this time using Lightning Network? And it should be noted that, where is it here? There's a line in here that it reminded me a lot of Bitcoin to begin with. Let's see here. First, the participation of most router nodes in LN is economically irrational with the present fee structure. However, signs of sustainability are seen with increased overall traffic volume over the network. By contrast, at the present level of usage, if routers start acting rationally, payment fees will rise significantly, which might harm one of LN's core value propositions, namely negligible fees. See, initially the Bitcoin network had negligible fees. As a matter of fact, damn near free. As a matter of fact, you could probably go on YouTube and find videos of Andreas M. Antonopoulos running around the stage talking about free or damn near free transaction fees, as in under a penny. And this is directly on the Bitcoin network, not in some fucking LN payment channel or somebody's bullshit node or whatever, but on the Bitcoin network. So if you consider the evolution of the Bitcoin network and the centralization that we've observed at multiple points developing within the network, even though those are constantly in flux, there is tendency to reward the people that are throwing the most money at it. And so if you were to assume that the same might actually happen within the Lightning Network or on second layer payment channel or second layer protocols or whatever, that those might be dominated by big players too. And on that note, all they really have to be able to do is afford to make bigger payment transaction fees than you. If they can afford to bump your transactions out of the block, or out of being included in a block, simply out of the fact that they're so huge, good fucking luck ever starting up a payment channel, because they'll just flood the mempool with their transactions, and you will be incapable of competing with them, because it'll basically just be DDoS'd out of the network. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down for just a moment, then we're going to go and close this bad boy. But yeah, I hadn't picked anything out, but I want to go with More Human Than Human by White Zombie here on Coin Metal. Little White Zombie for you there, More Human Than Human. But it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very much for listening. My apologies for not having been here on Monday or Wednesday, but we did have Christmas, and unfortunately it did fall on Wednesday. And Monday, as far as what happened on Monday, I don't know, I think somehow or another my entire day got all weirded out and as far as like timing, and for some reason I just never made it down to this. I don't know why, it just happened that way. In any case, we will be back again next week. And as far as what day, if it's on a Monday, I'm sorry, if the first is on a Monday, I haven't checked that out. I currently don't even have any plans for it. Fuck. Oh, that's going to be on Wednesday. So we will be here the 30th, Monday the 30th. So yeah, we will be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe, do your homework, and watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And as far as our last dance is concerned, we have not played any 12-foot ninja, so it's got to be one hand killing last dance here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and you all have an excellent weekend. Good night.